Welcome to the How to Heart Show, helping men reconnect to the heart and empower others as the leaders they were born to be. I'm Vincent Haasboom. The world needs the raw and authentic men right now. Join us if you're ready to make a change.
Hey, what's up, Lions, and welcome back to another How to Heart Show. Health, that's something that I've discovered in 5, 10 years ago. When I was younger, I was always in this mode, like partying and do crazy stuff. And I felt like, okay, my body can handle it. I didn't care. But once I slowly moved to my 20s, my 30s, I say, okay, now I need to do something about it. And not just for me in general, but also how I know that companies are destroying our body with food and GMO and all that stuff. So I went more into fuel and focus on how can I heal myself the best way and protect myself. So I came along with Adam Zaks, and we had such a good conversation, and I decided to bring him on. And also, in his philosophical way in speaking, I was so hooked on his storytelling and stuff like that. So I had to bring Adam in and have a conversation and explore his side of his knowledge and everything that I've learned, that he's learned about health and his journey. So, yeah, I'm super excited to have Adam on the show. So, Adam, thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Absolutely. So, Adam, before we're gonna go deeper into the powerful good stuff, can you share with us in a nutshell who you are and what you do?
My name's Adam Zaks. I have emanated and created a concept called A to Z Health, which is, funnily enough, based on my initials that a client came up with for me at the very beginning of my career when I won a program called The Biggest Loser, where an individual lost the most amount of weight out of all the other teams, but also my team lost the most amount of weight. So it was a two-way win, both for my team and for the individual. Only a 6-week program compared to the American show that started with a 3-month program. This is a weight loss program, essentially. Early in my career, very much just personal training focused, which evolved into a lot more. It evolved into holistic health. The body and the mind go through a lot of challenges, particularly that of pain. And pain has become the inspiration and focus behind all of my programming and all of my coaching. When you have a burst appendix, which almost kills you, and the paramedics ask you, what's the pain out of 10? And the only answer could be 11. A lot of lessons have stemmed from that, where I've realized that there is a generic pain scale that a lot of nurses and doctors and hospitals use. They ask you, what's the pain out of 10? Through A to Z Health and through my creative writing, and I've done countless writing and teaching and reflecting. One of the things I've created is the A to Z Health pain scale, that if A to Z Health was inspired by pain, there's this thing called the A to Z Health pain scale. And rather than just thinking of an arbitrary number, we're documenting all of the pain that has happened in our life. We could consider it being physical pain, emotional pain, this pain, that pain, categorize it into types of pain. But it's really that pain scale. If it had a number, you're adding context to that number. So you would to document, if it was a 5 out of 10, what is the description of that 5 out of 10? My burst appendix was an 11 out of 10. And so you think, well, if you can survive that, then you could survive a stub toe, right? So there's a lot of things that have come out of my journey in a 20 plus career now that has gone from just personal training to holistic health coaching and now studying to be a doctor of Chinese medicine. So I am happy to expand on that.
That's cool. That's really, really cool. And Adam, before we're gonna go deeper into what you said, I'm really curious because I never had somebody that was on a TV show. So how was it for you to being on a show?
No, no, not a TV show. So based on
Oh,
the TV show, this was in within a chain of gyms in Melbourne called Recreation. We had 8 of those at the time, and they ran the Biggest Loser program based on the TV show. So
okay.
not on a TV show. However, very exciting because when you're doing it, when you're in a team, you're running a team and you're against other teams, and there's weekly challenges, and you get to win the weight loss for that week, or you win the fitness challenges, whatever it is. It creates a lot of great hype and competitiveness, and I still think that competitiveness should be a strong line of thought in the world. It seems to be stripped away a little bit. It's how we elevate humanity, is through competing.
And why is that? Why do you think the competing is really important? Because for me, I'm not really a person that I want to compete with anybody. I don't really care. It's more like I'm competing with myself. I
Yeah.
have to put myself on the spot. I need to challenge myself. I need to level up higher, or I want to do this in a different direction. So why do you think it's really important for men to have that focus?
We don't have nature as much as our tool for those lessons. So we're no longer slaying wildebeest and woolly mammoths and having to deal with crocodiles in the wild as much, run away from bears, whatever it is. We are generally not fighting any person-to-person combat wars. Our war seems to be a war of information and what gets to be said. And I'm very strong on people not holding back on saying what needs to be said. Competing, then, therefore, if you were to use sport from a perspective of it being an incredible teacher, and I have had the benefit of having sport as an incredible teacher for me, because I was an elite soccer player. Judging by the great accent that I've been conversing with you with, I would correct myself and say football rather than soccer. So football was a great teacher for me. And now let me address your thoughts. When you train your body, you also train your mind. And I say this to my clients. When you have to go to bed at a certain time in order to have energy and clarity of thought the next day, when you are very specific about the foods that you eat and the way that you supplement and the amount of water that you drink and the sunshine that you let go through your skin, when you're very intentional like that, then you get this sense of competing. You need to elevate yourself in order to elevate your neurochemistry. Your neurochemistry being this brain and gut chemistry. A very great teacher for humanity has been Jordan Peterson. If you look at chapter 1 of his book, The 12 Rules of to Life, he talks about the crustaceans and the serotonin, and that being an ancient system, and it's very much relatable to the human system, that if we improve our serotonin and our dopamine production, and this stays at a consistent and balanced format, then we will elevate ourselves and be better off. We'll be more organized. We'll have better thinking. We'll be able to think of the words when it comes up. We will be able to negotiate in situations. We will then also be able to physically defend ourselves, defend our family, be a force for good in the world. And I believe that that is very important. So to compete, it has a lot of expansive other subjects that if you had a drop-down menu, it would shoot off that one subject. And I very much think of health another one of my clients helped me with a concept, which is that A to Z health, if it's A to Z, that A to Z is also like a hologram. That if you were to choose any subject, and this is how we can flow in conversation, Vincent, is that you ask about competitiveness, that competitiveness becomes the subject and all of health stems from that. But we could choose the subject blueberries, and blueberries could be the subject. How do blueberries improve our health? They have great antioxidants and fiber and water and all the rest of the stuff. So we can really derive a lot of thought from anything and optimize it.
That's really interesting, because the thing what came up first, and thank you so much for explaining, but the thing that came up to me was the serotonin and the dopamine. And now in today's society, we have a lot of distractions. So we're scrolling, it's a dopamine, it's constantly dopamine hits. We're watching TV, documentaries, or whatever, computer, video games. Our mind is constantly on. And now with the rise of AI and still men going more towards porn, they're overloading themselves constantly with this dopamine hits. And what I've realized with myself when I was so addicted to pornography was, when I was constantly watching, I felt really empty. I felt really drained. And there was some points that I didn't even care to talk to women. Also, I had a lot of fear towards them, but the desire was gone. I didn't feel like, I want to do this or I want to explore, because I was in overload of dopamine. So what is your, how can I say, your experience with that, with the dopamine levels and the serotonin levels with men and women? And what was for you to see that for yourself, but also with your clients, that you say like, hey, you need to remove this out of your life, or you need to stop watching porn or whatever, that they start like, oh, now I have a clearer mind and now I can think properly.
Yeah. Problem, solution, awareness, introspection, these sorts of things come up for me. Andrew Huberman has, to paraphrase him, when it comes to addiction, if addiction was one of the subjects there, he says something along the lines of, when the joy leaves the activity, that's how you know that it's addiction. So if you're aware of that framework, I think that's really powerful. Being an elite footballer, being a striker as an elite footballer, when you score the goal, there's a massive adrenaline rush, serotonin, dopamine. When that ball hits the back of the net and you know you scored an incredible goal, and after the game, the blood starts to slow down, the heart rate starts to slow down, the adrenaline, the positive hormones start to slow down. You do get this wanting or this craving of more of it. So you go and you practice with the ball again and you look to become even better. I would consider that a healthy, positive addiction, because you tend to still enjoy it the next game. I've seen a lot of people retire from sport because they don't enjoy it anymore, and I think that's great awareness. It's very sad when a person can't, if you were to use a bar term, put the drink down. In football, it would be to hang the boots up. There's a lot more to it, obviously. So it's not just about realizing addiction, but also harnessing and optimizing the thought of our serotonin and dopamine. How do we optimize it so that instead of moving away from addiction or it becoming negative, how do we optimize it where it becomes positive? So I believe nothing is inherently bad. It's that we need to do it in balance. Health itself is a balancing thing. Health actually means to be whole. And health is life. Life is health is a a term that I've coined, that I've written, that there is no difference between health and life, that health is life and life is health, that life itself is to be lived to the full and health is to live whole. So it's actually quite funny when people say holistic health, because what they're actually saying is whole. So to live whole would be to have enough awareness to realize that what you're doing isn't optimizing your particular situation. So that goes actually one step further than just heading away from something that's harmful. If you look at diet and nutrition, clients will ask me, am I allowed to eat this? Am I allowed to eat that? And what I would like to try to help them with is an awareness with that. Something like crackers or bread, or something that is sort of neither here nor there as far as nutrition is concerned. I want to put them on two extremes of, does this help or hinder you? And if it doesn't do either, then put it in the category of hindering you. If you were to focus on everything that helps you, that optimizes you, that increases your ability, your energy, your strength, your vitality, your vocabulary, whatever it is, your philosophy, if you would always look to improve yourself, you're so far away from anything that is detrimental that you don't even have to think about what is detrimental.
That what came to me, Adam, was that was for me also the thing. I was always associating things that was negative, like, oh, watching porn. Yeah, for me it wasn't bad, and for me personally, it's not really healthy. For me, yeah, I learned, and other people learn from it as well. But for me, it became an escape, not just something that I enjoy. And eventually, I was thinking, and I said to myself, why do I look at pornography to have other people having sex when I want to experience it myself?
Yeah, go do it yourself.
Exactly. And for me, that was something that was like, oh, I'm always in the opposite. I always go to the things that give me pain. And then, or it's fun in the beginning. I get the pleasure out of it, but then it's gone on the long term. It's like, I don't feel good. And then I said to myself, I need to do it more. I need to go out more. I need to do salsa dancing or interact with women or whatever. There I've enjoyed healthy dopamine hits. And I was like, whoa, this is so much different. Like you said, I start to enjoy going more to classes or going out and stuff like that, because I just remove slowly the constantly the dopamine hits of pornography. And it's not real. It's fake dopamine hits. And if you go through real life, you get natural, healthy dopamine hits, and that's what Adam explained. That's the difference. And for me, it was like, wow, it was such a awareness for me to realize I can also have healthy dopamine hits or healthy lifestyle. So that's really, really important, and I really want to thank you for that. And the question came up to me. I have so many questions, Adam. But the question that I want to ask you is, you played at the soccer level, at the elite level. So how was it for you to play there? And can you share with us how it started and how you moved and what level you got? And why did you change your transition from soccer player to a life coach in health?
I was on the way there. I didn't reach the pinnacle that I felt was in me due to an injury called osteitis pubis, which is a groin injury. I tried very hard to rectify the injury, and at the end of starting to feel better from that, I then suffered a burst appendix, as I said. That's when the burst appendix happened. It seemed to be the universe ushering me into this health field, because when the burst appendix happened, I realized that because I was already studying to be a personal trainer, that fitness wasn't enough. It had to be the digestive system. It had to be psychology, philosophy, spirituality, neurochemistry. It had to be neuroscience. It had to be biochemistry. It had to be all of the ologies that I would have to go and study in order to understand what this health thing is. Because if an elite athlete can almost die of something, I thought, imagine what day-to-day society is going through, day-to-day humanity is going through, who don't have a history of sport, nutrition, going to bed on time, and this sort of discipline. Discipline is paramount in all of this as well. Great word, discipline. Discipline has so much in it. But to come back to that, where did I go to? I was in a verbal agreement to play for West Ham, nothing signed. But as I was trying to rectify this injury, that opportunity left my fingertips, unfortunately. So I had to figure out what I was going to do in life. I started studying to be a personal trainer. Was I that passionate about it at the time? Well, I loved fitness, but did I want to be a personal trainer? I could say, looking back, not really. I was sort of taken under the wing of a few people who encouraged me to do it. And it seemed like the most likely career in a world of this idea of you have to make a career for yourself. I've never been an in the box sort of categorizing sort of person. When school finished, the careers counselor said to me, Adam, you're very good at sport. You're also very artistic. And in actual fact, my art was my best subject: painting, sculpture, poetry, performing arts. And this is where we get to the other aspects of A to Z health, because I realized after a while that why would I just be a fitness person just because the careers counselor said you're not going to make any money in the arts endeavor, because they gave me this, I would say, bullshit line, that is that you need to be dead in order to make any money as an artist. So I got encouraged to be in the health industry. Health became my art. So I became an artist in the health industry. This is where I was able to write poetry and philosophy that is directed towards health. And that's where the YouTube channel has started from. It doesn't have many videos yet because I am a perfectionist. And if we could have come full circle back to the dopamine, in The Matrix being my favorite movie, I even called my son Keanu because of the star of The Matrix, Neo, being the one. We are all potentially the one if we get our philosophy right. The full circle of that, the realization or the teaching from an A to Z health perspective, is to harness dopamine and love. That you would win the Matrix, that you would be able to play the game against the Matrix, because you can't fully escape the Matrix because we're in it. But we could potentially pull the wool over the eyes of the ones trying to pull the wool over our eyes. So the Agent Smiths of the world, if they're the ones trying to pull the wool over our eyes, we could do a Uno reverse card on them and pull the wool back over their eyes and make them believe that we are suckers for their system, when we completely understand the system and more, and we have our own system to run by. And by doing that, we harness our dopamine and we channel our love.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Adam. And also the video that you made, I watched it and it was really good. That was really good, the one that you made with the Matrix.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun making it. It took 18 months. As I said, I'm a perfectionist. Everything takes way too long for me to do, particularly now as a father and someone who's still studying a double science degree and still training clients and still trying to move the world slightly to the left or to the right or to up to down. I'm no political reference at all. I'm not political at all. But when we say, trying to move the house to the left, it's sort of like you're trying to do the impossible, is a kind of a saying in Australia.
Nice.
And I'm always trying to do the impossible. So I have a massive vision, which I've been told by many business coaches not to be too transparent about, but happy to share a little bit about it.
So Adam, what was for you the cause to be a perfectionist? Because I've been one, and sometimes I have my moments, and I also recently launched an episode about perfectionism. So what do you feel was for you that it started for you to being perfect? And then I'm going to share my side of why I've been, what I feel was in, what I realized was why I go into the perfectionism.
It's a question that I've been asked before. It's a question that I'm still not confident in answering, I would say, but I will, because it's actually healing for us to continue to practice a question like this. It's because it's a very profound question. So thank you, because it's great. It forces us to think. I think it comes from my football, that every touch of the ball, you're trying to make a perfect touch. My first touch became an asset of my game. If the ball's coming from the air and you are able to take it down onto both feet equally and perfectly, that your second touch then becomes also very beneficial to the team and to yourself in moving the ball forward and potentially scoring. So your first touch being, if it's perfect, then the rest of your game is near flawless. When you're going about that same attitude, that if I was to embark on this health journey and I said to myself, hey, Adam, if you were to put the same amount of effort into your health career that you put into your football career, you would actually go a long way, because you put so much effort into your football career. We're talking about 4 hours of practice per day. If I was to do that in the health industry, I'm going to go a long way. There's no two ways about it. And that we could come back to competitiveness there. I'm going to win, and I'm going to, whether it's a sprint or a marathon, I'm going to win both. I'm going to sprint and beat people, and I'm going to win the marathon also. There is plenty of people in the health space who have spoken about concepts that I've thought about already in my head, and they've only beaten me to the punch because they've posted it, or they've made a video on it, or they're doing more. And that's where perfectionism definitely holds you back. So let's talk about that. When I post something, if it's not what it needs to be, I'm irritated by that. I see holes in it. I see it being incomplete. I see it being messy and unfinished. It's like someone entering a business meeting and their tie is only partially tied, or they've got sleep in their eyes, or they've got a booger in their nose. It's something that is irritating about that a person didn't dot all their I's and cross all of their T's. The downside of that is, if you overthink about it, you end up shooting yourself in the foot. I can give you examples. One of those examples was, there is a term that is been around for, I would say, near like 50 to 100 years now, is the idea of epigenetics. They didn't necessarily have a term for it yet in the science fraternity, science community, whatever you want to call it. About 15 years ago, I said the way we treat ourselves affects our unborn children. That ends up being a term called epigenetics. And that if I was to get my ass into gear, so to speak, as we say in Australia, if I was to start to speak to people about this concept, that maybe I would have been more famous in the field of epigenetics, in the science field. This is the idea that epi is above and genetics is below. So epi means above, that we could influence our genetics. That the fact that I train with weights, when my son was born, I see he was born and he was full of muscle. Like my wife gave birth to a muscular child. And this seems to be, of course, genetics. Yes, of course, genetics. Some of us are more gifted and blessed by nature, but epigenetics is the way we influence our body. And you talk to men a lot. Your podcast is very geared towards the idea of men. And most of the clients I've trained, I have trained some women. Most of the clients I've trained have been men. And it's always like, how do I get stronger? How do I become more resilient? How do I become more unstoppable, more competitive in life? And this idea of epigenetics is you can definitely influence that. There's more and more science coming out all of the time now that people who train, that goes into your sperm. And when you make new life with that sperm, it's stronger, more resilient sperm. And these human beings that get to grow become more athletic and more resilient and stronger in every way.
Interesting. Yeah, that was really interesting about, I didn't know that. I was just like, yeah, I work out, but does it really gonna have like influences for future children? I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know that.
But definitely being a perfectionist shoots myself in the foot, and it also helps me. I think it's a two-way street. I think that it would be something that I would need to continue to think about. But if I was to think about it too much, I would be going into perfectionism again. And here we go again into a loop and thought pattern where I'm up for way too many hours at night thinking about too many things. And that ends up needing to be another book that I've got as another project when I've already got several projects that I'm working on. So it becomes a little bit of an insane world in my head. I really relate to Elon when he says, no one wants to be me. If they really knew what was inside my head, it's too noisy in there, and no one really wants to be that. The human beings are an enigma. The enigma is that and a paradox. It's that we can be brilliant and know that we're brilliant, but it's also the thing that it takes some sort of life away from us at the same time. Like I could study the idea of sleep and know that sleep is paramount for health. It's one of the most important things that we can do is to sleep well. And yet I'm up late at night thinking about concepts. So it's something that I could say, oh, you need to work on that. But I'm working on something while needing to work on my sleep. I'm working on a book or a piece of writing, or I know the way creativity works. We call it a flow state. A flow state works where if you're feeling it, you channel that and you stay in it. And it would be silly to break that. If you were to break that, it would be like, come on, it's time for bed now. Got to go to bed. Okay, well, what do you choose? Do you choose the creative flow that you're in, or do you choose bedtime? I would say to your listeners that this is something that you're going to have to come up with an answer for yourself.
Yeah, well said, and thank you so much for sharing that. For me personally, when I discovered it more slowly on my journey of the healing journey, for me, what I realized was that I, excuse me, that I discovered that it was trauma. So I was more like rejected by my mom when I was younger, and I started to create this persona or this ego, like, hey, I cannot let people in, or the fear. But also, when I did something wrong, people would get angry at me. So that was getting on top of the trauma. So what I've learned was, if I become a perfectionism, nobody will come to me and say, hey, you did something wrong. If I did some work, everything needs to be perfect. I was measure it over and over again. Like, is it correct? Is it correct? Because I didn't have the confidence to say, okay, here, it's good. I wanted to have it perfect so nobody would be angry at me.
Mm.
And I realized it was because of the trauma that my voice, that I realized it's because of what happened to me. It's not that I choose to be perfectionism, but I learned it's because of what happened to me. And once I learned about it, I slowly let it go, because I have the same as you, Adam. I was always continue going, and still just, it's good, and still wasn't perfect in my eyes. Also, when I did this podcast, my first videos, I wanted to have it perfect. I perfect recording, because I believed if I do this, then people will watch my content. And I was just draining. I got so tired and exhausted of constantly in my head, oh, how can I improve? What can I do better? Did I did this wrong? Did I this right? And I just went nuts. I really got slowly into a burnout, and I said, I need to stop this. I need to learn to say, when it's good, and just leave it. Don't touch it again. And sometimes when I come back later, a couple of days or a week later, it's like, oh yeah, maybe I can change this, but not continue improving it. But what I see with the podcast is a different journey, because I have then a new mic, or a new better camera, or some software, or whatever. That's something that I can improve. So it's also a healthy perfectionism of growing yourself and growing your podcast. So there's nothing wrong with it. But if it's really, really getting into your life, then when you walk, for example, my books, if they're all crooked, it's like, oh, I need to put them straight. But I can also do something else with that. And the best way for me to train myself was just let it crooked, the book. Even though I get annoyed, it's like, okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's good, it's good, it's good. And I walk away. And that's how I really learned to really let go of the perfectionism, but also do the inner work. I did a lot of healing with myself, reading books, educating myself, getting out of my comfort zone and stuff like that. So it really helped me to get out of the perfectionism and say, it's okay. Nothing bad happens to me if I make a mistake. I can talk to them like, hey, yeah, I'm sorry. It can happen. But in the beginning, I was just overload, and I was losing it, Adam. I couldn't take it living like that.
This is where I realize that there's so much to a word that if we were to look at the definition of words, that there is, when you go to look up the definition of a word, that it has multiple numbers associated with the definition. So there is also this idea that there's a source of why. Asking why is very important. In the A to Z health program that I've written, one of the first things that I did before writing the program in my early 20s was I asked the question of a lot of people, past and present clients and friends, what is it that you would want to see in a health program? And I often got the answer back that it's motivation. And I thought that that was really interesting, because I never needed to be motivated. I was inspired. Inspiration and motivation are related, but they're not the same thing. They're very different, actually, even though they're related. So let me explain that one. When you're inspired, it's the idea of this term in psychology called intrinsic motivation, as opposed to extrinsic motivation. And so in that first chapter of the A to Z Health program, which is motivation, I can help you with what you were saying, because it's also a question to you. when the book wasn't quite straight and that you were okay with that. I have a few questions. I have a couple of questions. One of the questions is, are you familiar with Rick Rubin, the great producer, music producer?
No.
Rick Rubin talks about art and creativity and producing stuff in the world as diary entries. Now, when you write a diary entry or when you create a diary entry, you're not at all concerned with anyone reading that diary entry. You don't give a stuff what anyone in the world thinks when you put in a diary entry. You want the diary entry to be what you want the diary entry to be. And so when talking to an artist, when talking to a creator, which you are, someone that's putting stuff out there into the world, it's never about, it shouldn't be about what others want. And you mentioned making other people angry. If the intention behind what you're doing is to not make people angry, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. If the intention that when you put something out there that someone else would say that the book wasn't quite straight on the shelf, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. That if the book was intentionally put there in that way because you believe that to be a creative insight from your brain, from your heart, from your gut, then it's meant to be like that. And then therefore it becomes your own choosing, your own insert into the world that others can take or go without. So that's my take on it. So that's why I see the perfectionism in me compared to the perfectionism that you describe as being different and being a slightly different definition. Because although I do see my perfectionism being a hindrance to me, I see it being mainly positive. Because in me being a perfectionist, I'm wanting it to be the piece of art. When I write a poem or a story or a narrative or something to put out there that I want to help people with, if a word is slightly out of place and doesn't actually feel or sound quite right to me, if the music's off, the music that goes with the words, and if the timing is slightly off, it irritates me. I don't really mind if it's going to irritate someone else. It's only finished when I believe it's finished, and that's what I mean by perfectionism from my perspective, in that you think of it like a diary entry, and your diary entry can be a piece of art that you want to go back and enjoy. Working on 2 YouTube projects at the moment. One is about technology and another one is to do with a message to my children of something that they can press play on when I'm no longer here. But the reason I'm making it now as a 41-year-old is that I want to enjoy that as a piece of art for many decades before I pass away, knowing that my children will enjoy it after I pass away. So in that term, in that framework, my diary entry and my piece of art that I'm putting out there is for me to enjoy first and foremost, and then for my kids and the rest of the world to enjoy as a byproduct of me enjoying it.
Yeah, for me, I understand your part also for what you're explaining, and view was slightly different mine as you explained, but for me it was really the fear based. Just if I do things correct, then I wouldn't get any problem. Also, when I was driving on the freeway, perfect. I was driving perfect everywhere because I believed if I'm being stopped with by the police, a lot of adrenaline, and so I wanted to run away or flee this behavior. I wanted to avoid the conflict. So my belief was if I do everything correct, then I would have no conflict. So there's no discussion or argument that I can have with somebody. So my tactic was always avoiding and then keep it to myself, keep it to myself until I just broke down. I just cried or I was sick until I couldn't move and stuff like that. So I realized I agree with you. The perfectionism is not bad, but like you said, you need to have a balance. If it's gonna take over your life, okay, I need to make a change. But also with the perfectionism, I also learned a lot from it. Also to have I can look for more details, or I want to have this in a different way, and this is what's not working because I'm gonna try this. So it's really also, like you said, Adam, the mindset, how you look at things. But for me, with the books, when I was straight, it was like, pressure, I need to put it straight. But it was nothing to do if I'm gonna be beaten up or people say, hey, it's crooked, because it was in my home. But the feeling just to be crooked, I was like, I need to be straight. And that's what I said to you, like I train myself so I don't have to put every book straight. But if it's there, it's, for example, if I now it's standing and it drops over, it's like, okay, yeah, fine, just leave it there. So I can say it's easier for me now, but it took for me a long time to break that. How was it for you, Adam, to slowly break out of the perfectionism?
Health is this idea of dark and light, positive and negative charge, male, female, wet, dry, daytime, nighttime, these polarities, these opposites that make life whole. So remember what I was saying before about optimizing versus not being a negative thing, like the idea of it not, like heading away from addiction as opposed to actually looking for it to be the most optimal position that you could be in, that you would never ever get anywhere close to addiction because you're focused on optimizing. I feel that it's the same with this subject for me, that I'm headed towards, if I'm making it as good as I could possibly make it, then it's a good thing. And so, although it could be very time consuming being a perfectionist, and although a lot of events transpire while you're being a perfectionist and you could have done this and that, it's that there's a trust in people as well, that when you do say something, when you do finally come out of your silence, it's going to be very good. It's going to be beneficial. And that there's a trust when people listen to you speak, they trust that it's come from a place where you've thought about this for a long period of time. And I also find that with my creative work, that if I have a lot of projects on the go, I'm teaching and learning about life myself. When I'm researching a topic, when I'm writing about a subject, the most important things come to the surface. And so the things that do get posted become the most important things that I believe that I've gone through. And so they get posted first because I believe then the byproduct is humanity would always also benefit from that. And a lot of the things that I've come up with and a lot of my coaching has come from a perspective of teach myself to heal and to get better first. And that if I found that that was profound enough, that it would be worth bringing out into the open and demonstrating it in a public arena. And so perfectionism is like that for me. And so as this conversation continues, I realize more and more just how being a perfectionist, as I say respectfully and from my perspective, it being not really that bad at all.
Okay. For me, it wasn't that bad, but for me, it was just hindering a lot. It was overboard. Everywhere I went, everywhere I go, was always in this perfectionist state. And I realized I cannot keep going like this. I need to let go more, because it was driving me crazy just to work so hard every single day with the job, everything perfect, at home, everything perfect, on the road, everything perfect. I just said, I need to stop. This is getting out of hand.
Yeah.
And it was really the adrenaline constantly. I always felt that I wanted to flee. Always felt that I then never felt grounded back then. I always felt I was all over the place and not grounded. And I was always in this flight mode or in this freeze mode and keep myself safe from bad outcomes. So what I want to add with this, I agree with you. It's not a bad thing, but if it's gonna take over your life, then you need to change. As with everything. If it's
Absolutely.
addiction, gambling, if you do it for fun, for example, you gamble from time to time and you say do like $50 and say that's the max, I'm not gonna invest anymore. That's also healthy. That's fun. But if you're gonna put a loan or whatever to gamble more, then it becomes a problem. It's also when you drink. If you just go out for a couple of drinks and you don't get wasted, or how you do say it in Australia, pissed.
Yeah, well, to use a very masculine mind, it's like an equation. If it was taking from your life, then you would deem that to be a problem. And if it was giving to your life, then you wouldn't see it as being too much of a problem. I'm just saying it seems to mainly give to my life. I do see it being problematic, but not as much as it is being beneficial.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. And maybe for me, I just need to discover that for me to see what is the benefits and whatnot. But I feel like I never put any thought in it anymore. If I just, again, if it's messy or it's I will clean it later. It doesn't have this much of influence on me anymore. So I think I found the balance with it, like you said. And yeah, for me, it's working well as it is now. So I really want to thank you, Adam, for this conversation about the perfectionism. But what I'm really curious about is really what can you share with us about the mental health and also the physical health? So by working out, have a healthier lifestyle, eating quality food, not junk food like McDonald's. You need to avoid all this stuff. But really, what can you say to the listeners? For a lot of men also, they want to build physique and stuff like that, they want to be stronger. So what can you say to them, why you still need to start going working out and eat healthy, and what are the benefits? But what is your perspective on building yourself up in the gym and a healthy lifestyle?
It's a huge question that you're talking about health very generally there, in that strength and nutrition and that sleep, it's paramount. When I train people, I mentioned before that we're not just training the body, we're also training the mind. And I also mentioned this idea of drop-down menus, this drop-down menu or this hologram, that we could choose a subject and that everything stems from that. We could say sleep. If you sleep well, you're more likely to train. You're more likely to want to eat well and put good fuel in. If you've had a terrible sleep, you're more likely to throw in the towel and consider that day to be a write-off. Well, I didn't sleep properly, so I didn't train. And because I didn't train, I don't need to eat well, because I don't need to put good fuel in my body because I didn't train and I didn't sleep well. So it becomes this cascading. I talk about snowballs of health. We can create a snowball of sickness or a snowball of health. The snowball of health is, I'm sorry to say, it does come back down to the perfectionism thing. But if we could just replace the word. We could replace the word perfectionism and just say, do everything correctly. Watch your diet, exercise, sleep deeply. If you don't know how to sleep deeply, research it. Talk to me. Let's have a conversation about it. Yes, I may go to bed late, but I still get my 8 hours. Yes, I may go to bed late, but I still sleep deeply. I still know how to have a deep sleep, and I still sleep for the amount of time that I need to sleep. Being a dad, it does have more challenges than not having a family that you need to look after and get up for early in the morning. So being a night owl isn't ideal when it comes to having to get up early as a father. So it is a new challenge that I am currently trying to rectify, and I will figure it out. But it's and I can write about it. I tend to overcome a challenge and then think, how do I creatively turn it into something? That's very much the way my mind is also, is that my poetry stems from problem, solution. After the problem and solution, then okay, so what's the bare bones of the solution? How do I turn the solution into flowing creative words? Then the first edit happens where those words become more succinct and more beautiful and more flowing. And then we have this kind of messy problem and a pretty good solution, with then a messy sort of very unfinished. And this is, I will come back to the perfectionism there. If you would just put out a product where you've just come up with a solution, but you weren't able to explain it very well, that's where you're not going to, let's just say the word marketing. From my perspective, A to Z Health gets marketed from having the right set of words. I believe that if the words are thought about correctly and they flow, that it's going to remind a person much more effectively. They're going to go to bed thinking about it. They're going to write the quote down. It's going to affect their lives profoundly than something that feels a bit flaky and unfinished. If the words are profound and it sounds really good, and generally philosophy works best when the words are cut down and it being very succinct, but at the same time it being very potent and profound with not many words being said. So you're saying a lot without using a lot of sentences. Coming back to health, that is health to me. That if you were to get it all right, that life is a lot better than what people realize. And in my book, Doctors Study Sickness, You Should Study Health, in each chapter, I go through the different lines of thought. Why do doctors study sickness? Why should you study health? Why are people sick? Sorry to swear, but one of the chapters is why give a fuck? And that is a nod to Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, which is a really great book, and his follow-up book. This is the idea that I believe that we should give a fuck. And I actually agree with him also, because only choosing one line of thought isn't good for us. We need to potentially agree with two different perspectives. I agree with his perspective that there's a lot of things that we shouldn't give a fuck about in life, because we end up chewing ourselves up about it. As you were saying, I was overthinking and I wasn't feeling good about the book that was slightly not quite right on the shelf. It was taking from your life. You didn't feel good about it. From Mark Manson's perspective, you could take a leaf out of his book and go, I should just not give a fuck. From an A to Z Health perspective, we should give a fuck, because by giving a fuck, we actually improve our life by doing that. By sleeping properly, we get to have more energy. By eating better, we get to have cleaner blood. By training, we get to be stronger, and we get to be fitter, and we get to live longer, and we don't need to replace our hips. We don't need to replace our knees. We don't need to have shoulder surgery. So there is something to take from all sources of information in the health space. And again, that's why health is such a huge subject and so hard to ask a question about health. So I actually really commend you, because it's like, what's this health thing, Adam? Well, health is to be whole. Where do we start and where do we ever finish? We can't ever finish the conversation of health. That's also why I love talking about it.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and thank you for sharing, because a lot of people will say, yeah, but how do I start? I want to get more physique health, but where do I start? That's the first thing that will come up their mind. How do I start? Or with food. Yeah, but what food do I need to eat then? Do I need to eat this or do I need to eat that? So they go a lot in their heads instead of, okay, I'm going to start a diet. And from there, I'm going to build on it. So then I'm going to try this food, or I'm going to try this project, or this, whatever you feel is important. But also with the gym, you're not gonna bench press 50 like in one time. You need to start with the smallest ones, then you need to try it out. Does it feel right? So you need to start. And a lot of people start only in their heads and never finish it, or they never even try.
I'll start tomorrow.
So what?
They say I'll start tomorrow.
Exactly.
Tomorrow never comes.
Exactly. So what I've learned through my journey is I'm not a super expert like Adam. I know some parts of food and how it's healthy or not, but I just try it and see how I feel, and if it works. If I'm not feeling well after the food, then I know, okay, the body doesn't like it at the moment. It's not right now, but maybe on a later day. But you will know, and you have to try it. If you do, so for example, if you work out for your legs and you have so much pain, then you need to say, okay, maybe I need to do something different, or a lighter weight and stuff like that. So that's why I asked this question, because a lot of people don't know how to start. And when they see, like, okay, if I'm just start with changing my food or changing my diet, or for example, I'm gonna put salad on my bread or cracker just to try it out and see if it works for me, and not go for the quick fix, because people are looking for the red pill and just now I'm skinny. Also, when people go to the gym, they have to do this in New Year's Eve revelations and stuff like that. Yeah, in January I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna work out. I want to have beach ready body, and then you see them leave because the summer is coming, and they're just drinking in the bars. Like, what are you doing? Like,
So that's what I was talking
you
about.
want to be physique.
Intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. This is why that first chapter is important. That if they were to come back to that first chapter regularly, they would remind themselves why they're doing it. The reason why is an inspiration. It comes from within. It's not externally. The external is your thought. I want the beach body because I want people to look at the beach body. I want them to look at my abs. I want them to look at my muscles. See, I got broad shoulders and lats, and I want to walk down the beach feeling confident because people are looking and going, oh, he looks great. He's an Adonis. He looks fantastic. You want to feel fantastic for you. You train so you've got the energy and the positive hormones to walk down the beach and not give a fuck. Mark Manson's not give a fuck. Not give a fuck what people think because you feel good. Now they're looking because they're thinking, this guy is he's so confident and positive. What is it in him that is making him so happy? It's because he doesn't give a fuck. So I say it's important to not give a fuck. It's important to give a fuck. You've given a fuck about your training, about your sleep, about your diet, about your supplementation, about the way you speak, about the way you hug, about the way you kiss, about the way you love, the way you're a father, the way you're a mother, the way you do anything. The way you do something is the way you do anything. That's perfectionism, right? It's a good thing, right? This is make my case from that perspective. From a health perspective, being a perfectionist is fantastic. It's really, really good. But the reason why, the inspiration, the internal, the intrinsic motivation as to why you did it in the first place means it doesn't matter whether it's summer coming up. It doesn't matter it's winter, autumn, spring. The season is irrelevant, and people talking about the weather is irrelevant. The weather is irrelevant because no matter what it is, rain, hail, sunshine, windy, stormy, still, calm, the birds are singing, the birds aren't singing. It doesn't matter. You feel good. It's raining. I love the rain on my skin. It's sunny. I love the sun on my skin. Let's go out and into the rain. I don't like the rain. Why don't you like the rain? Oh, because I'm going to get wet. Well, don't you get wet in the shower? Like, what's your problem here? Okay, do you want to be alive? Yes, I want to be alive. Do you not want to be alive? Okay, so why are you depressed? Let's talk about it. All right, okay. Did you realize that a dear friend of mine, his name's Adam also, a dear friend of mine, he says that when I started writing this A to Z health program and I actually started to talk about depression, if I was talking to the people who are depressed, and I've had depression myself, don't start explaining how to not be depressed. That's not a health program. You're explaining how to feel great. You're explaining how to feel happy. You're explaining how to have lots of energy and to have a great life. Therefore, you don't have depression. So it's not a program into how to not be depressed. It's a program in order to be happy, fulfilled, excited, inspired, feeling like you have a reason to get out of bed every morning. And so a great question I ask anyone is, what gets you out of bed in the morning? What gets your juices flowing? What brings you alive inside? It's a diary entry. What brings you alive inside is being creative. I worked with a psychologist myself, because where does the coach go to when the coach needs help? Everyone needs a coach, I believe. Everyone needs someone that they can bounce ideas off. They can throw ideas against the wall. And if it's only bouncing ideas up against the wall, you're an only child like me, who used to, as a teenager, stare at the ceiling where mum thought, oh, he's going through puberty, and sort of just thinking, she just recently told me, oh, I just thought, well, you're going through puberty. He's changed a lot. It's not just that. It's the fact that I realized how alone I was as an only child, and that the only way that I could make a situation where I could throw these ideas around is that I would have to make friends. But in a small town, if the people that you're trying to be friends with aren't relatable and aren't of your ilk, they're not your type of people, you will eventually find your tribe, but you tend to have to do that in a bigger space. If you can't find your tribe in a particular space, you do end up staring at the wall or staring at the ceiling, and you do start to contemplate depression. So then when the groin injury happened and the burst appendix happened, and I feel like not only did I not have the friends that I wanted, but I had a failed soccer career and I almost died, and you feel like absolute hell inside, you would need to then feel, without a religious connotation, because it's religious terminology, hell and heaven. I'm talking about these polarities. I would need to then figure out how to, what is my version of heaven while I'm in the living state. And so I discovered health, because it was the opposite of what I was going through. To train the body to eat well, to sleep well, to get any toxins out, and to figure out what's going on in the pharmaceutical industry, what's going in the supplement industry, what's going on with the different health professionals. Like, who does a person go to when they have an ailment? There's so many different health professionals out there. So one of the things I help people with is which health professional to choose for which particular situation. There is so much out there, right? We've got so much information, but not enough context. So we've got content, but very little context. The context has completely left the building. I'll tell you, clients tell me all the time, they have a particular ailment. They'll go, I'll go to the doctor. I go, no, not for that. Yes, go to the doctor. I'm not discouraging people from going to the doctor, but that particular thing that you're dealing with is not suitable for a GP. It's potentially for a chiropractor or an osteopath or a nutritionist or something else that you didn't contemplate. And I have the tools and understanding as to where to point the finger as to where you should go. If I can't treat them, then I have a network of people that I could point them in the right direction as to who will help you to rectify your problem, because you're going to have to rectify your problem. But I know who can help you the most efficiently.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Adam. And also, what I wanted to add with the nutrition, what I've also learned when you see, I don't watch TV, but sometimes when I go to my parents, they have TV on, and then they have these commercials about nutrition or supplements. But I've been talking to a colleague of mine, and what he said was spot on. And he said they give you so much information what you need to do, but how do you know this supplement really works for you? Maybe if they say you need more zinc, maybe you already have enough zinc, but you're gonna over supplement yourself with pills that you probably don't need.
That's
So
right.
he said, if you want to do that, you need to see somebody that helps you in a specific way in your body. What do you eat? When do you sleep? How's your rhythm? How's your lifestyle? And because of those questions, and also if you uh, do the test for the blood test, you can also see your levels and what is good and what is not good. So also be careful with that as well, that you go to somebody that doesn't abuse your blood, but really see for you what works for you and listen to your body. And that's what I see. A lot of people are so in their head and overthinking that it becomes too much, and then they don't do anything instead of taking this small baby step. If you want to change your life, you can go full blown, you can buy all this gear and equipment and books and stuff like that, but eventually you're going to overwhelm yourself and you're not going to do it. So you need to start at the beginning. Start, for example, if you want to change your diet, start there, and then start some exercises. You can do it together, but don't buy so many books and courses, because there's a lot. And also when you overload yourself, then you don't know what's the right fit for you, because some product sounds really amazing, but when you do it, it's like, this is not really for me. So I've learned by my experience that I need to listen. What do I need right now? What does my body need? And also when you said about food, I watched a couple of years ago The Game Changer on Netflix, and
Oh, you're right.
I was just done. I said to myself, "This is it. This is how I'm gonna live my life, being a vegan." But I'm gonna be honest with you, Adam. I felt miserable. I was going to a whole labels. Oh, this has inside of it. Oh, I can't. Oh, this. My world was closing in so slow, and my problem was that I just stopped right away. I went from meat to nothing, and I got into a shock, and the body was like, "What are you doing now?" So if I'm going to do something else, or people want to do that, build it up slowly. Don't quit right away, because it's not fun.
Mm.
But
Why do you
then
think people quit?
sorry,
Why do you think people quit?
I think it's overload, that they have this too much of desire what they want, and then it's like too much information, too much stimulation, and they feel like, oh, it's too much. Because when I wanted to go into vegan, I had so much information at once. Oh, I cannot eat this, I need to check this, I need to do that. So then I just said, eventually I didn't feel good about it later on, but I quit because it was too much. I didn't feel good about it. But what I feel with people when they just quit, it's like they make it too big. They don't make a small step. That's how I feel. And that's what I always did. If I did something, I went over the top. I bought everything and I just wanted to succeed it so much. But then I just lost interest, or I just stopped and I moved to something else. I never gave it really a chance.
Yeah. I think there's a multitude of reasons why people quit, but I think it also comes down to the reason why they started. Again, the intrinsic or extrinsic motivation, that the intrinsic motivation happens to be inspiration and isn't motivation at all. Motivation is only a byproduct of already being inspired to do something. That if you consider something to be in you, this is in my blood, this is who I am, there is no two ways about it. You may have days off, but it never leaves your consciousness. It never leaves your life. So health is something that I ask people, why would you quit your health journey when you're actually just quitting on yourself? That is a very negatively profound thing to do, is to quit on yourself. And it often ends up being a much deeper process when it comes to coaching them, because there happens to be a long thread and a long history of other deeper reasons why they didn't have a profound why and reason to do it in the first place. And then when you uncover that, you do uncover the why and reason why they definitely should be working on their health. It's a self-sabotage. They're self-sabotaging themselves because it's sort of like this, therefore this. I can't be healthy right now because I have this and this problem, and I don't know how to rectify these problems. So I can't then go and work on my health because they've justified it with the previous reasons why they didn't begin in the first place. So there's this sort of backlog of problems that they didn't deal with. And so what happens on the surface level is, oh, I don't have the motivation. You don't have the motivation. You do. You're just not going about it in the right way. You would have the motivation if you were to look at the psychology of motivation itself as to why we're motivated to do anything. Motivation is all we have. If you're hungry, you eat. If you're horny, you have sex. If you're tired, you sleep. To not do the thing that you're motivated to do would then be a problem. And now we got to figure out what the problem is as to why you wouldn't do what is obvious to do. My muscles ache when I don't train. So my body screams at me and says, hey, Adam, we need to train. Because we know that when we train, we get this thing called ATP, which happens in the mitochondria of your cells. It's the part of you that isn't really you. It's the bacteria part of your cell that harvests this energy called ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and it gives us energy. And we don't have that. We feel like shit. So go and train and then feel good. It's sort of like a cause and effect. Train, feel good. Sleep, feel good. Eat well, feel good. Supplement, feel good. Have sex, feel connected to someone. We need it. We need to have a conversation with our brothers and sisters. When I mean brothers and sisters, I mean jumping on a podcast with you and talking to my brother. And this is, predominantly your podcast is geared at men. So we're talking to our brothers here. I'm an only child, but I can say brothers because that's how I speak. My friends and my brothers. And then now that I'm having children, I'm looking at them having siblings because I really felt like I lacked not having siblings. Because being able to converse with another human being is really where it's at for me. We learn so much. I was telling you in the pre-chat before we had this discussion that during conversation, we hear our voice and we teach ourselves. And then if we're good listeners, we also learn from the other person. That's why I sort of thought, well, you're interviewing me, but I'll ask you the question, why do you think people quit? I think it's a good one to ask.
Yeah, and it's a really good question also, Adam. What came to me when you asked that, what I also think is the fear of success. And why I say that is because when I moved to something and I did well, I automatically quit or I just gave up on it. And sometimes I felt, okay, now I'm getting too successful in this, I need to back off. Or if you become better with women, it's like, oh, women come too close now, for my example, then it's like, oh, wait. No, you need to back off. So every time I want to be successful with everything I did and I reached a certain level, I just moved back. I was so afraid of becoming so successful that people gonna like, hey, because I was super introverted, it's like, hey, Vince, why did you do this? And I didn't want that. It's too much. So I feel like a lot of people also do the same. When they become successful, it's like, no. If I'm going to be successful, people are going to try to pull me down. And I don't want that. So I'm going to be just at their level. So I'm going to be safe. Then I have the balance with my friends and family. So I don't have to get out of the herd or I going not move myself up. So I feel like that's also a part. And like you said, it's all combined. It's all together. It's all certain reasons that we don't do it. But for me, it was really being successful that I just tumbled down.
Have you asked the question to yourself? Because I really love the subject of both the fear of success and the fear of failure. But have you ever asked yourself the question why you have a fear of success? Because I feel like I've got an answer, but I'm just curious to see what you say.
For me, the fear of success was to get above people. So I would get out of the crowd. And also, you get a lot of more responsibilities. You need to make more decisions. You're not as comfortable as you're in your comfort zone when you're just low. So every time I went out of it, I saw people looking at me like, oh, what is he doing? And I didn't like that. So I kept myself small. And also with relationship was difficult because there was a lot of areas that went bad. So it's maybe unconsciously that I don't want to commit with women or I push them away. But with sports or with podcasts, there's always this level that I want to avoid. It's like, no, here's nice. But like you said, my body or myself, me says like, no, I want to grow. I want to do this. I want to do that. But maybe unconsciously it's like, no, the level here is good. It's safe. So that's how I feel about it.
That's interesting. If I was to condense the philosophy from my perspective as far as it being a very concise answer, I have honed it down to the idea that someone who has a fear of success is that if you were to succeed in any given objective, that means that you now don't get to have the journey anymore. You have a fear of this concluding. My fear of success is dying because I've said to myself that it's like it's not a 50-cent get rich or die trying. It's a obtain my objectives or die trying. Complete the mission of what I've set out to do to humanity and to myself, to prove to myself and to the world that A to Z health is what it needs to be. And then once it is, I can die peacefully. Do you see the problem with that? The problem with that is I would want it to continue for such a long time that I wouldn't ever die because I love living. So because I love living, that means, again, this is where it's not so good to be a perfectionist. This is the small amount of negatives that I was addressing in your initial conversation, your initial question. The downside of being a perfectionist is not that I don't do, I take too long to do what I said that I was going to do. I will always do what I say that I'm going to do, but it could potentially take way too long. But the reason for that is I want to stay alive forever. So, because I've created this condition on myself, right? I've created this condition that once I've done it, then I can die peacefully. So it's that's a lot of noise to deal with in your head.
Yeah.
And again, just because I'm a coach and I know that I can help a lot of people, we've still got a lot of things to figure out. You know, I'm 41 years old. I've been on this journey for over 20 years now, coaching people. Perhaps in the next 20 to 30 to 40 years, I'll figure that one out. The fear of success. I don't have a fear of failure. I actually welcome failure. Failure means that I get to learn. So interesting the way that they structure school and university. I think that I erroneously or incorrectly labeled myself as not academic for a long time because of the way it's structured, school and university. That if you fail, you're considered a failure. That when I really looked introspectively at this idea, failure is just another opportunity to learn and do it again and do it better next time. Therefore, you're a winner, not a failure. But in school and university, you're considered a failure. So I would say the teacher or university lecturer or person that's marking the paper or project or exam, just give me another opportunity and I'll do it better next time. Sometimes that's an option, sometimes that's not. They'll be like, what are you joking? The time has come and you've failed it. But I've failed it that time. What if I do it this time? So give me another opportunity. I will ace it next time because I now know more. I have now had more time to study. I have now learnt the things that I got wrong the first time. And I want to say to people that you should have this attitude to life, because life and school and university, they're completely different. You will get another opportunity and you will learn, and that failure is actually a really great thing. So they, in my opinion, need to change that about school and university.
Yeah, I agree. It's but the thing is also it's how it's structured. It's how it's designed for you to make you feel worthless or not good enough, or when you fail, you're a loser. When, like Adam explained, it's not. It's really a learning curve or something that you need to improve on or whatever. But yeah, we can have a conversation about that another time about systems. But the school system is not designed for you to be a winner. It's designed for you to become a slave worker or a worker for a boss, but not have your own ideas or your gifts or your creativity into the world. It's for you to be an obedient slave into this system. So that's why how they promote you. If you make a mistake, you're in the system. But if you're gonna grow and you move up, then you go out of the system, and they don't like that. So it's carefully designed for you to keep you in the system, so you're not getting out of it. But Adam, thank you so much for explaining that. You have so much wisdom that I can really talk to you for hours about this, and I want to slowly bring it to a close. The question that I deeply had was being a lonely child. How was it for you? I sometimes I talk to people about it, and everybody has their own stories, but I think there's a lot of people that can relate to you when you share more about that, and for me as well.
Big question. It was not fun in the short term. In the short answer, the longer answer is I happen to be naturally of the psychedelic type. Before ever embarking on anything to do with substances, when you have parents that came out of the 60s and 70s era of music and culture, and you happen to listen to a lot of vinyl records that came out of that culture, you do have your natural tendencies to want to find out about it. So in embarking in the psychedelic world in my 20s, I had a very, very profound first experience where I addressed that. So when we do psychedelics, we are to set an intention. And the intention for my very first journey was to rectify this idea of loneliness. And I smile now in a subject that brought a lot of sadness. The revelation that I had was that there's this duality to it. It's really cool. You are alone. We're all alone, but we're also together in this loneliness. So there's 8 billion other people who are also alone inside, because we are all alone inside our unique consciousness. Now we have a choice. We have a choice as to how to see that loneliness. We can see it as a beautiful gift, or we can see it as something that is desperately dark. And that darkness can be shared with others, and they can say, I too see and feel that same feeling. If you were to explain it well enough, that they could explain it too. Now you have unity and you have a togetherness. And so we are now not lonely because we've described it to each other. So now we feel unified in our loneliness, meaning that we're no longer lonely. And during this profound experience, I felt the world hugging me. The idea came from, there's this ancient, it seems to come from India, this idea of Kundalini, which is the idea of a snake that is coiled in the bottom of your spine. We're not talking about science here, because I talk about all subjects. It's not a scientific framework of thinking, but it's more of a spiritual framework of thinking, that there's a release, that there's this snake that's coiled at the bottom of your spine, and it's kind of limiting. It's sort of strangling the core and essence of who you are and holding you down to being too embedded into society in a way where it's very red pill, as you said, very passionate about the Matrix. So we continue to take these red pills, and take your pharmaceutical drugs, and eat your sugary breakfast in the morning, and take your antibiotics, and get terrible sleep, and drink coffee until your boss stops yelling at you by 5 p.m. each day. Just try to get through the day and get your paycheck so you can afford to do the same thing the following week until you die. And then your family have to pay for an expensive funeral. It's terrible. It's not how to live. I veered off. Can you bring me back? Can you bring me back, Vincent? I veered off. Kundalini. So there's this idea that this snake is actually, in a way, it's this idea that it's, during my first psychedelic experience, this snake was cold-blooded and was strangling me, like suffocating me and taking me away from life. I felt like I couldn't breathe. As things evolved, this snake became a warm-blooded snake, and instead of strangling me, there's the duality, right? It was hugging me now. And so loneliness became, instead of it being desperately dark, it became warm, loving, and hugging feeling. And I realized that really all we need to do is to go up and not necessarily hug everyone we see, but definitely allow for the potential to do that we are all potentially dealing with that same thing. And that by creating more unity and by conversing with each other more about these subjects, that we can feel better.
Thank you for sharing, Adam. You know what's funny? When sometimes I talk to people that also are awake about the system, and they say, but I'm just alone. What can I do? And I said, look around. We're with so many people, but we need to connect more. We need to come together more. We need to have more discussions about these things. But it's always funny when people say, I'm alone, when you're not, when you have neighbors, you have friends, you have family. But we create this identity. If I'm alone, that's how I create it. If I'm alone, then I'm safe. Then I don't have responsibilities. But later on in life, I felt so lonely because I didn't have any connections with people. And like you said, you don't live anymore. You're just surviving every single day to get your paycheck and pay the bills that you need to pay. And it's like in the movie Groundhog Day, it's the same thing. You're always on this repeat. And when something exciting comes on our path, like, well, no, you push it away and say, well, it's not for me. When we don't even try, or people come to us to ask something, and no, maybe it's a stranger, maybe he wants to hurt me, or maybe he wants to do this. There's always this negative mindset of something bad that's going to happen to us. But once I started to change that mindset from the negative to the positive, it's like, well, I'm just going to have a conversation with this person, or hey, I'm going to meet this new neighbor, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And it took a lot of time for me to change that. But once I did that, I felt a lot better. I was smiling more, I was happy more, I was connecting with other people. Still, I have my issues in those areas, but I'm aware of it, how important it is to connect with each other. And like Adam explained perfectly, you're not alone. And that's really cool how you share that with us, even though you were um, not really a lonely child, but you didn't have any brothers or sisters. You still found a
Mm.
way for say like, hey, I'm still connected. I still have people around me, so I'm not alone. And it's really that, right? Really changed the mindset of from the negative to the positive.
We have to find a way to articulate ourselves better, and by doing so, we become more understood, more obtainable, more receivable. We become more approachable, and we optimize our life in that way. Again, it comes down to the idea that health is so whole that you won't be able to look at everything before your time is up. It's a never-ending loop. It's why I call it the infinite rise to ultimate health. That we're going to strive for ultimate health, but it's an infinite rise. It's a never-ending journey. I say to everyone, you will be breathing in your last breath or beating your last heartbeat, looking back at your whole life, knowing that you learned a lot, but you could never learn all there is to know because it's infinite.
Yeah, and that question, or if I can form it into a question, is what are you gonna look back at when you're on your deathbed? Are you gonna say, "I wish I did this. I wish I did that. Oh, I wish I started this company. Oh, I wish I asked that girl out when I was in my prime or when I was younger." When you're on your deathbed, you cannot do it anymore. So you need to do it now, in this moment. If you have dreams, if you have desires, if you want to work out, change your lifestyle, start now. Don't start tomorrow. Don't start in next week, because you're gonna postpone it every single week or every single day. And life is short. You don't know how long you have. People think they're gonna hit the 80s. You don't know. You're gonna have a heart attack or you're gonna hit by a car. You don't know.
Mm.
So what you need to know is what you need to do now. You need to know, what do I want to make out of my life? What is my legacy that I'm gonna leave behind? Like Adam described, I want to leave a legacy for humanity, for Mother Earth, for his children. For me, it's the same. How can I give value? How can I change lives? That's my legacy, for people to say, I changed my life because of Adam. I changed my life because Vincent said this, or other people that they want to learn from. But you need to do it now. It's Adam is 41. I'm getting 40 next year. So time is ticking. It doesn't stop for you. So you need to take action today and do the things that you want to do.
That's right. So it's a question of how would I look back at my life before I die?
Yeah, I want to have your perspective on that, because I think a lot of people don't really stand still by that moment when you're on your deathbed and you're gonna rethink about your life, or you're gonna go into a wheelchair or something like that, and then you say, yeah, now what? So my question is to you, when people in that situation, what is for men, I already wanted to ask you this question, so we can go there now, is when people on their deathbed, what is the advice that you can give, like what they need to do now? What can you say, like, this is the action steps that you need to take today for in order to change your life?
I think you got to
There's
be
no,
already there. You got to already be in the idea that today is your deathbed. That I wrote once, what would you do with today if you knew it was the only day? It's that philosophy. Today is your only day. So you'll need to fill it with everything that you have said to yourself that you wanted to do or you were going to do. You have to do it now. The only time is now. All we have is now. I very much point people in the direction of the movie Peaceful Warrior, or if they're a reader, much better for them to read the book The Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman. It's one of my favorite books.
Okay.
It's all about living in the now.
Nice. I never heard about that book, so I'm really curious to read it.
Profound book. So one of my favorite philosophers is Socrates, and he has a make believe character in this book. He calls Socrates. It turns out it's sort of up to the reader whether this person is real or not, or whether it's just a figment of his imagination, or if it's in his dreams or whatever. But he has this person that he talks to, could be himself, and he calls Socrates. And Socrates is his philosopher, and his philosopher is constantly telling him, all we have is now. He asks, when do we start, or where do we start? And Socrates says, there is no starting or stopping, there's only doing. And so the deathbed is now. We are dying now. I have so much gratitude in speaking to you, Vincent, because we get to have this conversation. You know what I mean? Like, we're here now having this conversation. It is such a gift to be here now, using our voice and being here now. We get to be doing what we set out to do. Both of us were unwell. We had colds and whatever, and we set out to do it, right? We decided we're still going to make it happen. And my son kept giving me colds, and I kept trying to deal with that, and we kept rescheduling, and we got there. But that's the to the people listening, it's got to be now. Like, all you have to do is to, if you were going to go to the gym, get in the car right now while you're listening to this and get to the gym. If you were going to have a shower and you're feeling dirty for too many hours, get in the shower. You'll feel better after you have a shower. Please get to bed. If you're waiting for this to finish, just get to bed and you can listen to it tomorrow. Like, do what you said that you were going to do. There's so much profound benefit to that my words will fall short.
Yeah, perfect. Well said, Adam. I totally agree with you. And the thing that I want to add is the book that I listened to it recently is Why We Sleep. It's a long book. It's a tough book, but I've learned a lot from it. I was shocked what he explained about why sleep is so important, and also the blue light, how it infects your brain. And because if we watch the blue light, the mind thinks it's still day. But if we take away the blue light or other stuff that is more in a calming setting, then your brain knows, okay, it's for me time to go to sleep. So that's why I explained also, when you go to bed, remove screen time for 1 hour before you go to bed, and you improve your sleep. So those things can benefit, but you need to do the work. You need to do the research. If something is not working for you, go on the internet and go do research. Go to DuckDuckGo, not Google, and research. Look for answers. How can I improve my sleep? Or talk to Adam. Hey, Adam, how can I improve my sleep? What can I do with fitness? My nutrition is bad. What can I do here? But you need to take action. You're not gonna say, well, I want to change my life and everything's gonna fall in your lap. Yeah, you can manifest things in your life, but still you need to take action. You need to go behind your computer and check things out, or talk to Adam, or talk to me, or other people that can help you. But you need to do the work. And there's also a lot of people are so afraid to do the shadow work, to do the healing work, because it brings too much pain.
Yeah.
But I always said to myself, now I have pain, but in the long term, I'm going to be more joyous. I'm going to have more fun. I have more interactions with people. I'm working on my healing journey to have a better quality of life. And also I can help other people. So I was so stuck into the negative, like, oh, I don't want this, too much pain. But then I said, I'm going to go to the future or the long term and know what I feel there. So it's really that mindset. If you want to do something, like Adam said, do it today. Don't wait, because you don't know if you're going to wake up the next day.
Yeah. And I was also thinking that I could tell you a lot of the how-tos of health in my book. I said, look, I could write about how to. I could tell you how to train and how to supplement and how to sleep, and I'm happy to do that. That would take many, 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 many hours every week talking to you, Vincent, in order to explain to your viewers how to do each one of those modalities in health. That's what my A to Z health program is for, is to teach people how to do it. The reason I wrote the book, Doctors Study Sickness, You Should Study Health, is very much a why book. And when I have these conversations with podcasters and with friends and with family and with clients, most of my words are now spent on why you should do it, because I spent my career up until now explaining how you should do it and what to do, only for it to fall on deaf ears. And what I mean by the deaf ears is I didn't ask them first if they know why they're doing it. And so I lose a lot of people in trying to explain to them how they should do it because they didn't have that intrinsic motivation or inspiration to do it. Because if you have the why, then I can explain the how. But if you don't have the why, then I'm wasting my breath, and I'm speaking to people that are the wrong people to be speaking to. And it's an unfortunate thing that I had to realize. I thought I'll just go and talk to everyone about this health thing. Everyone needs to know about it, and they do. The problem is they're not going to hear it because they haven't done the work as to why they should be doing it in order to hear it. It's for me a very convoluted way of going about life, but it seems to be the rule that the universe has given me and us.
Yeah, and I really want to thank you for explaining that, because for me, my why was always hard. People say, why you do it? It's like, yeah, I just do what I do, but I never go into depth like, why I'm doing this? Or why do I want to change my health? Or why do I go to the gym? Now I have my purpose and my reasons why I want to do it. I want to be healthy, fit, stuff like that. So I have a reason to go. But if you don't have really a reason, it's like, yeah, but why should I go then? I don't care. So I want to thank you for bringing that up and going more into that perspective, because that's so important. Also, when you start with a business, you need to have a why. Why do you do this? Why do you get out of bed to start work on your business or on your podcast or your family? What is the reason for you to do it? And a lot of people lost their why or their purpose for them to build something or create something. So you also shared, or I see here in my list also, art. So I want to go a little bit there. And from there, I want to go a little bit deeper into the coaching. And from there, we're going to bring it slowly to a close. So my first question for you, Adam, is art. And why is art so important for you?
Art is a way of living. I believe that if we can beautify our experience, we improve our life by the beautification process. That if you could kiss the ground with each step, that each toe is in the right place, that even the way that we walk can be art, the expression of our body, it's poetry in motion. I've had my revelations about when studying neuroscience, the cerebellum at the bottom back part of the brain is this intricate, weaving, beautiful system, and it is responsible for coordination and detail, hand-eye coordination, the pen in the fingers, and the flowingness of a drawer or a painter or a sculpture. This same part of the brain is also responsible for being in the flow of sport. So I had this revelation and thought that this weaving, beautiful, intricate part of the brain seems to be a description of the flow state of life, that there shouldn't be any difference between a striker moving in and out of defenses and weaving in and out of play with skill and precision and with beauty, in the same way that a drawer or a painter would draw a squiggly, beautiful line. So that this part of our brain, if we were to continue studying it, and my lecturers told me that neuroscience is a part of science where we have the most distance to still cover. So if you looked at the other ologies that we seem like we know most of it, that we could never know everything, but that there's still maybe only a few percent that we could potentially know about that subject. Whereas with neuroscience, we only have uncovered potentially 40% of what we could know about the brain, spinal cord, and nervous system. So that says that there's still 60% to understand. So I started to think, well, okay, what revelations can I come up with that maybe hasn't been spoken about enough yet? And I thought, if I'm in a creative position on the football field as a striker, being creative in play, like seeing moves ahead in the same way that you would look at a blank sheet of paper and know what you want to draw or paint on it, or know what sort of poem you want to write, that you could see yourself moving in and out of their defense and scoring the goal in the top left corner, for argument's sake. That maths is more of a defensive position on the football field. It's judging distances and speed and velocity. This is kind of like the mathematician's version of art. It's still art, but it's a mathematical persuasion rather than a flowing persuasion that a poet would use as opposed to a mathematician. Like, I think maths and all of the sciences are still art, but it's just a different type of art. So that the person that would be geared towards being a defender in football would be more suitable to be an engineer or a mathematician or an accountant, a physicist, something to do with science, velocity, distances, and calculating things. Don't get me wrong, you still have to calculate things as a striker, but when the ball is at your feet, there's a lot more room for error. And that comes down to the type of personality that I am, that what I was saying to you before about the ability to fail means that you're not scared of failure as a striker. You actually welcome it, because trying things, you're actually very likely to fail. Like you try a certain move against a defender and they knock you straight to the ground, because they've seen that move 50 times before in the other games that they played against, and they knew you were going to do that. So you judged them to be a less defender than what they are, and they sorted you out. So that time you failed. 30 seconds later, you try a new move and you beat them and you score the goal. That's all you needed. You won 1-0. You did the creative thing and you won. They beat you 30 seconds before. So did you fail or did you win? I believe that you won. Coming back full circle to what I was saying before about Rick Rubin's diary entry, no diary entry is incorrect. Even the one that you reread 20 years later and you go, oh yeah, it's erroneous now, but I see where my mind is at, and I'm glad I wrote it down, or I'm glad I did that diary entry, because it's allowed me to be who I am now. And then again, to come full circle with the deathbed thing, that if you were to have all of these experiences, all of these diary entries, it's a fully lived life. So you can actually die peacefully because you've had experiences where you felt like you really did win, but you would have only won because of the failures. The failures were there, and anyone in business will tell you that the richest people are the ones who failed more often. And when I say rich, I don't necessarily mean money either. I'm talking about the idea of the old school days of courting women. Even more no's leads to a yes. More things that you try as a striker leads to a goal. It's up to you to try it. You've got this beautiful opportunity to live. You may as well go forward and be fruitful. That's art. Art is living. It's walking down the street and seeing, that person's letterbox is a little bit faded, probably needs a paint job. It's seeing that their fence is slightly down, and maybe they need to fix their fence. And that's if the owner of the house was to pause for a moment and potentially be more of a perfectionist, they would see that the fence could look better. And if they would repaint the fence, they would feel better about their home. They would feel like when they come home from work, it's actually a joy to be at home because they've taken pride in their surroundings. Again, I'll come back to all the books that I mentioned, but Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, one of the things is about tidying your room. And I believe that it's a holistic pointing of the finger towards all of life, not just your bedroom, but anything. I told my wife that any suburb in Melbourne that you walk down, why does it have to be like a rusty doorknob? Why couldn't that doorknob be a thing of beauty, a particular shop front of a cafe or whatever it is? Why isn't that doorknob golden or sparkly or something that's just, wow, it's vivid, rather than just tired and rusty and worn down? Do you not take pride in your patrons coming to visit your facility? Do you not want people to enjoy it the way that you have in your mind, that my health centers that I want to create wouldn't be absolute architectural things of beauty, that when people walk in, they're looking at this architecture as art, as beauty, not just as a gym. We're not just coming here to train. We're coming here to spend several hours to live our lives. And as I said, to be fruitful and merry, like a place that someone wants to be. They choose to be here because it's beautiful, it sounds good, it feels good, it smells good. It's everything good. And that we should endeavor to have a world that is full of good.
Yeah, I needed to let that sink in. It's really beautiful, really powerful. So thank you so much, Adam, for sharing that with us. The thing that I want to add for me is you always won. You always win. If you try something new and you failed, you won because you did something out of your comfort zone. You tried something new. With women, if you want to ask women out and she says no, you've won because you asked her instead of just standing there and think about what she could have said in that moment. So this is something that I have to learn as well, because for me, interacting with women, there's a lot of issues, and I'm discovering where it really is and how I navigate through that. But talking to you is really, you always win. There's no, you don't lose, or you're not a failure. I say if you really quit with something and don't do anything, then you failed because you gave up on yourself. You gave up on your dreams, your desires, your passions. But if you kept on going and you try something new and you be consistent, and then you're gonna do this and then you're gonna do that, you've won. Even though it didn't get the result that you wanted to, still you've won. You did those micro steps, and it's gonna take you to bigger things. You're gonna have opportunities. People will want to talk to you or offer you something. So you need to keep going. And that's what I told you before. When something is wrong, we grab for the quick fix. We won't have this quick pill for us to help us to get better or whatever. But true living, like Adam explains, like in this art of poetry, you need to go with the flow. You need to go with life. If life is pushing you down, ask yourself, why is this happening? What can I learn from this? Or what can I do next time for me to move into the direction that I want to? So that's what I've learned over the years, that I need to go with flow. It's also when you go into stream, you want to swim in constant stream. You can swim all you want, but you're gonna get tired. You're gonna get exhausted because life is pushing you or navigating you into somewhere that you probably need to go or that you desire to go. So it's better to stop fighting and take you to the stream, to the flow of the stream, and go where you need to go so you can move into the direction that you want to go. It's also with navigation system. If you just drive without navigation, you don't know where you're going. And sometimes you do the wrong button and then you go the wrong way. But the moral of the story is you need to have trust in yourself, in life, and everything that happened to you happens for a reason. And you learn, you grow, you try. And it's like what you said, Am, is really becoming this playful mindset, right? Be curious. When you're children, you're just, what is this? What is that? And you probably see it with your son in the future. It's like, what is this? What is this? They want to know. And we forgot about that inner child. We stopped being curious. We stopped playing. We stopped interacting with new things. And my dating coach, he also told me always, like, you need to have this playful mindset. When you go into the world, play, interact, have fun, and see where it goes. And I think that's really important, right, Adam? Have this playful mindset, like, how can I interact and play with the world?
Yeah. Having an artistic mind is another way of saying it, is being playful. Be playful in all moments, and you'll find that you'll have a good life by doing that. I strongly believe that. I strongly believe being artistic and playful is we often have two choices. Things are going to piss us off. Things are going to make us angry. But as you process that thinking, you really only got two choices. You can either continue to be angry about it, or you can laugh about it and figure out how to enjoy yourself still, because today is still today and it's all you've got. What would you do with today if you knew it was the only day? And if you were to choose being angry or upset in the last day that you get to live, I think that would be silly.
Yeah, and also you miss out on things if you're just focusing on the things that you're angry about, upset about, or what happened in your past. Then you don't see what's coming, or you don't see what's happening right now. You're just having this blindfolded on, and you just focused on the negative. But outside, you don't see what's happening. Maybe women, they see you and they're smiling. You're not seeing it because you're focused on the negative. So it's also be aware of your surroundings and your mindset and how you think, and change that. It's not gonna, when there's a negative mindset popping up and you're gonna say, well, I feel good about it and it's okay. It will come again, and you need to retrain your mindset because you've probably been talking negative for decades or years. So you have to retrain, you have to reprogram. And that's what I saw with myself. I was in decades for a negative mindset and crying and angry and upset, and I got sick. But people don't realize, if you're holding on negative energy, you can make your body literally sick. Your organs can really have problems. So I said to myself, I need to go into the negative or into the positive, because I cannot talk negative anymore. I attract bad people, I attract bad experiences because I'm constantly in this negative state.
Mm.
So once I moved into the positive and trained every day to be positive, when I wake up, I hold my hands on my heart and say what I'm grateful of. And in the beginning, it's hard. It's like, oh, it's new. But once you get this consistent, you feel really good. You're smiling and you wake up different than just, oh, I need to go to work again. I don't care. Oh, it's raining. Oh, it's like, okay, it's raining. What else can happen? What else exciting can happen? But you have to train yourself into going there. And it's hard, but I can say you now, once you do that, life transforms. Life becomes so much better and so much fun.
Absolutely. There's a guy called John DeMartini. I don't know if you know of him. He was on The Secret. If you don't know his name, that you might have recognized his face on The Secret. He's very strong on the gratitude thing, and so by listening to him, I realized that my monitor's saying that it's going to turn off. By listening to him, it was very evident that I would need to practice gratitude. And so, yeah, I also practice gratitude every morning. And that he says that he's got the longest list of gratitudes. I would like to compete and beat him, because I would like to have the longest list of gratitudes. Because if you had the longest list of gratitudes, that would mean that you get to live optimally, it seems. Because if you're grateful, then you'll have more good things coming your way. It seems that the more you're grateful, the more you'll have to be grateful for.
And also the small things. You're not just grateful for the big things, but also for the small things. Your food, your bed, your pillow, family, those small things, the sun that's shining on your face. It's those small things that also matters. But we're always so focused on only the big things. But I've learned I also need to be grateful of the small things and the little things that I have in my life as well. So yeah, it's really powerful, gratitude. And yeah, I really want to move forward to the coaching. So Adam, can you share with us about your coaching and the business and what you do to help the people?
It still starts as a personal training session. So just so you understand like what they're walking into, it's still like the idea that, because I'll never let go of that. So, once I become a doctor of Chinese medicine, that'll just be incorporated into what I already do. Coaching is, during lockdown, we tried this sort of stuff, and to great benefit. I can help people philosophically, psychologically, because if you have better philosophy, you'll live a better life. But I really feel that it needs to start with physical training, because if they walk into physical training, I'm jumping a bit because I want to explain it properly. I have this thing called the A to Z Health Workshop. That's a micronized version of all that I'm about in just 3 hours, where a person can experience the 3 pillars of A to Z Health: the physical, the nutritional, and the philosophical health. All 3 subjects, very broad. But in just 1 hour, you get a sample of that. I strongly believe that by training, you open up a person's chemistry, biochemistry. That means that when you train, you're more hungry to eat and you're more likely to absorb the nutrients that you need to absorb. So after you've trained, we then eat as a group. And so I explain nutrition, and I explain how nutrients go into your body and what nutrients we need to have. Once you've trained, once you've eaten well, a person is more likely to be able to speak and articulate themselves and look at the philosophical part of health. They're more likely to feel good about sitting down around a table and conversing about what it is to be philosophically and psychologically healthy, emotionally healthy. Because you've got a stomach full of food and your muscles are warm and feeling like they're trained. So you've got all the positive hormones from training and eating well. You now have the ability to speak about it. Does that make sense? It's holistic. But a coaching session, an ongoing coaching system with me would look like they come in, they have already given me their goals, and so I'm training them physically. In between sets, we're discussing how they've been eating, how they've been sleeping, what they've been thinking, and things will come up. Things always come up. Their relationships, their businesses, their mindset, their negative thinking, their positive thinking, whatever their thinking is, if they want to make more money. See, we address money with this as well, because money is yet again just another subject in the whole paradigm of health. If you're healthy, you can potentially be very wealthy. If you look at health holistically enough, I'm talking about my definition of health, not someone else's. So health, to be whole, to live a whole life, would be to understand money, in my opinion. And that leads to being a sovereign individual too. And sovereignty is being free from any system that can control you. So if you're physically fit and strong and sleeping deeply and thinking clearly, and you are making decisions based on knowledge and wisdom, training the body and the mind, you're unstoppable. No system can stop a person who takes that amount of care about life being health. So health is life, life is health. Back to the philosophy of A to Z health. Life is health, health is life. If they take life that seriously, if they take their health that seriously, they'll be wealthy, they'll be strong, they'll be vibrant. They'll have people around them that care about them. They care about people, and those people care about you. There isn't anything that could potentially stop you, even if you get a life-threatening disease, an injury that is so unfathomable. Your psychology, your philosophy, your resilience, your prior strength that you've already trained for will prepare you for anything that's coming. And if you have the pain scale that I talked about at the start of this conversation, you will have reference points that you can come back to. The reference points are, I've experienced this pain before. Here's the full articulated expression of what I went through, and it's information you can use into your future. Coaching, therefore, becomes this layering system, an amalgamation of things that I've told them previously. You also mentioned just the sheer fact that, where do I start in the gym? Like, how do I lift all this weight? Because they're comparing themselves to some other strong dude in the gym that lifts a lot more than them, right? We have, as personal trainers, this thing called progressive overload. Progressive overload is you start at 40 kilos, and then today you're lifting 100 kilos, and then tomorrow 110, and so on. Progressive overload means you slowly get stronger, because the body is a beautiful adapting system. It adapts both negatively and positively, though. That's why I talked about the snowball of sickness and health. You can adapt negatively. That if that bag of chips that you ate the other night didn't seem like it created any negative ill effects, I'll eat that same bag of chips again. Still didn't create any effect. Then there's another book worth mentioning, or another person that created this concept called the compound effect by Darren Hardy, business guy. He talks about the compound effect, and the compound effect is you wouldn't notice my example of these chips. You wouldn't notice the bag of chips on one night. You wouldn't notice the one cigarette. You're going to notice a lifetime of smoking. And I sadly have to mention my father, who passed away because he was a smoker. I miss him terribly and reminded him regularly not to smoke. What do I do about that? coming back to the looking back on your life and whether you regret things or not, I don't regret, because I told him constantly to not be smoking. The book Doctors Study Sickness, You Should Study Health is inspired by conversations at the table with him where I can smile and be jovial about it, because he used to say to me, Adam, who do you think you are, Adam? A doctor? Like I'll tell him things, and who do you think you are, a doctor or something? And I go, "Well, it's sort of like when I was a lot younger, I didn't know how to answer that. I'm like, well, no, I'm not a doctor, but why would that stop me from knowing about health? So the book title came from that. Doctors Study Sickness. You should study health. And remember about what I said about my friend. He said, when you go to write about health, if you were to think about the subject depression, you wouldn't be writing how to not be depressed. You'd be writing how to be happy. And now because you're happy, you're not depressed. There's the dualities, right? They need each other, but you got to get the wording and the thinking right. So, okay, cool. Doctors study sickness in order to try to help you to be healthy. But if you look at a doctor's waiting room, it's full of sick people. I'm not bagging doctors here. This is not hanging shit on doctors. Doctors are necessary, but it's called allopathic medicine. Like Western doctors is allopathic. Allopathic means the treating of symptoms. My follow-up book, I talked about in Doctors Study Sickness, You Should Study Health, a term called the super doctor. Of course, the follow-up book is called the super doctor, because the super doctor is a doctor that uses all of Western medicine and all of Eastern medicine and everything that we've learned philosophically, psychologically, and all of the ologies to obtain ultimate health, not just a testing your blood when you get sick type of health. Like, doctor, I don't feel so well. Can you test my blood? Turns out you've got cancer. Oh, well, too late now. It's like, yeah, there was a whole story that happened just before that, for many years before that could have been rectified if you had I'm sorry to say, a better attitude.
It's I have nothing to add really. It's really powerful what you share with us also for the 2 hours plus. I'm super grateful to have you here on the show, Adam, because the way how you bring things up, and also not you discuss it, but you break it down and then you share with us the plus side, the negative side, but also the negative and the positive. You see it as it is, but you also look, what can I take out of it? What can I learn from it, instead of put it into a box or label it, but see you really digest it and say, what can I use and what not? So that's really cool, and I've learned so much from you. It's really so a delight to have you here and have this conversation. I have still so many questions that I want to ask, but unfortunately, time gets short. So yeah, I also have some other things to do as well. So I'm gonna want to say thank you so much, Adam. It's been really, really powerful, really inspiring. I really enjoy it from the moment I sit down with you until closing to the end. So I really want to thank you for that. My final question, Adam, that I have for you is, I say this to all my guests. What is the most hard thing for you to go through? That's really like, this was really the bottom of my downside of my life. And what was for you the most achieving moment in your life? And this is really curious because you're really in this philosophy style. So I'm really curious how you're gonna digest this question and really hear your answer.
I want to make the answer as fruitful as possible. Could you ask me the same question again, but just a different way this time? Because I want to make sure that it flows correctly.
I don't know how to say it in different, but in easy way, I can say it. What was really the lowest point in your life? And what it was for you the highest moment in your life?
The hardest moment in my life is to see my father dead. To process that over many years now. Now it's 11 years. As I said to you, it becomes I figure out what the problem is. I figure out what the solution is. I have some sort of messy explanation as to what it is. And then I try to improve the words as to what it is. If you're missing someone deeply, what was it about this person that was an example? And what was it about this person that was a warning, to use an Anthony Robbins framework? People are warnings and examples. Dad was a warning and an example to humanity. He was a very philosophical, psychologically brilliant person, which is maybe why you're seeing some of that of him rub off on me. But he also was someone that didn't look after himself physically. So I would say, through my own pain, it is my pain and his death shouldn't go to waste. So for anyone who I explain this to, you should be as sharp in the mind as humanly possible, and to inspire others to be the same, to be a man of your word, because Dad was a mensch, which is an old European word which means to be a real old school man. Being a mensch is being a man of your word, to always do what you said you were going to do. When you shake someone's hand, you look them directly in the eyes, and you just do everything properly. The enigma and the irony of that is that he didn't take care of himself. So the warning is, take care of yourself, because you'll die early. You know, he was only 60 years old. He was a baby. I'm 41 years old now. I'm going to approach that in the click of a finger. I'm going to be 60 before I know it. And I believe that by 60, I too will still be very, very young. And it's way too young to die. The other part to the question is, my happiest moment was seeing my son be born. To see he's got the same broad shoulders as my dad, to see that he's got the same quads and glutes as the lineage of my family, who are all great athletic sprinters, that he was born with that epigenetics actually works, that training your sperm by training your body with weights and by taking care of yourself actually matters, because I've seen it in real time. I've seen it, a physical human being straight out of the womb demonstrate what it is to be a healthy, strong, muscular baby from day one. And to see him come alive every day with new words and new understandings at 16 months old, it's something that at the moment really makes my heart beat.
Beautiful, Adam. Thank you so much for sharing. It's always a powerful question, and the answers are always magical. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, and also giving the honors to your father for helping you on the journey, and through that you're helping other people from there as well. So I really want to thank you from my heart, Adam. Thank you so much for being here today on the How to Heart show. Like I said, I was so excited to speak to you because when we first talked, we also talked like for 2 hours, and it was such a good connection, and we had such a good conversation. And here we did it again. So I really want to thank you for that. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. So yeah, it's been a real honor to have you here on the How to Heart show. Thank you so much for that. So when the listeners are like, hey, this is really cool, I want to get to know more of Adam and what he does. So how can they follow you?
At the moment, my website is being recreated, so stay tuned for that. I am on YouTube as the name that you see on the screen, Adam Zaks. Very easy to type in. There's an old channel there. You'll pretty much quickly learn which one's which, because you'll see more of the creative, artistic flow of my newest channel, and that's the one that you should follow. Same name on Facebook and Instagram. On Instagram, you'll see very psychedelic artwork with my words, my philosophical words to help people to live better. So you can connect with me on multiple platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and eventually, again, my website, which is getting recreated. Those in Melbourne who know me, those in Europe, a few. I've traveled through Europe. You're from Holland, right?
Yes.
I gathered that from the accent. I didn't get to go into that
Yeah.
properly. What part of Holland?
I live in a small village. I live 2 hours away from Amsterdam.
Oh, okay. I love Amsterdam and Rotterdam. I love my jazz, so Rotterdam is a
Oh, yeah.
great city for me too. So, have you ever traveled to other cities?
Yeah, a few, but Holland is really, really big. So if I want to go somewhere else, I need to take the train or by car, and sometimes I can be spending like 3 to 4 hours just going there and go back. But I have a bucket list that some places that I want to see. But I went to Den Haag, I went to Rotterdam and stuff like that. So yeah, I've been more like the capital, the well-known cities, but there's also other cities and villages that are really, really beautiful to visit. So, like I said, it's big, but one day I will try my best to see more of the Netherlands.
We should do this this conversation in person sometime,
Yeah, sounds good. I like to do that.
in Melbourne or in near Amsterdam.
Yeah. Well, I like to come to Australia one day because my father is originally born from in Australia. So I have a father who's born in Australia, and he's also been there as well. And I see some really cool photos. And also, I love to surf and snowboard, so it's really cool to do that as well. So for me, the main reason would be go there just to explore and have fun, and yeah, just meet you as well. So sounds good. Let's put a pin there and see if we can make it happen in the future.
Fantastic. I also want to say thank you so much for doing this and for your great questions. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. This was a different kind of interview because I really need to tune in what you were saying. But the best part about you, Adam, is you explain it very well. And really, like I said, when I've met you, like your voice is so catching. You're really pulled into your storytelling and how your things explaining. And that's how I got really connected with you from the beginning, because how you are and also where your heart is. So I really want to thank you for that. Like I said, it's been really powerful, cool episode. I really enjoyed it. So before we're gonna go off, is there a final word that you want to say? Or I feel like we've said enough, but I always try to give my guest the final word so we can have it as a beautiful close.
Sometimes I would say that the past and the future don't exist. All we have is now. But I would actually like to add my own writing that is also potentially profound for people. And that is that if questions are infinite, so too must answers be. And so I'll leave you to ponder that without me explaining it, because philosophy works best that way.
Perfect. It's a nice close. So, Adam, again, thank you so much. It's been really powerful. I've learned so much from you, new insights. So, I'm really grateful for our conversation. I was, again, really happy that we can make it work out. So, yeah, thank you for bearing with me, and also for you as well that you were sick. We hit it off right away. It was easy to work with you and plan everything in. So, yeah, I really wanted to say that. So, yeah, Adam, thank you so much for this very, very powerful episode.
Thank you so much as well.
So, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope it gave you a lot of value. I know it will, but you never know. The best thing about this is really we're planting seeds, or we give them an opportunity to see things in a different way. So, yeah, it's been really, really cool, really powerful. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for following the How to Heart Show. So please do like the How to Heart Show, subscribe, and you can also follow me on social media. And there I also talk about my journey as well. So yeah, it's been really a cool journey for me as well as a podcaster, meeting amazing guests like Adam and my other guests. So that's the best part. I can share my voice. Adam can do the same, and that's how we help each other, and that's how we help humanity, help Mother Nature. So yeah, it's been a really, really powerful episode. And Adam, thank you so much, and I wish you all the best. Talk soon.
Thank you.
Hey Lions, thank you for listening. Glad to have you on our journey to the authentic self. Want to learn more to embrace your potential? I invite you to keep listening. Do me a favor and smash the like and subscribe buttons, as this helps the show reach more listeners who need to hear these messages. See you next time.